While most people think that only chick flicks or drama movies have the potential to make a person cry, well, they're wrong. There are a lot of cartoons that are famously known to make us laugh until we cry, but sometimes they throw in an episode that makes us wanna cry. Not because we're laughing, but because we're sad. So let's take a look at the top 10 saddest or tragic cartoon episodes. Starting us off like we always do, in at number 10, Mother Simpson from The Simpsons. In order to get out of cleaning as a part of the community service, Homer faked his own death. This resulted in the family's utilities being cut off, so Marge forced Homer to reveal that he was still alive. When he went to Springfield Hall of Records to get this all sorted out, he found out that his mother was still alive. The news of his apparent death brought out his long-lost mother from hiding because she was on the run from the law due to her activism against Mr. Burns in the past. Long story short, Homer thought his mother abandoned him 27 years ago because he thought that he was a horrible son and no mother would want him. Up next, at number 9, we have the episode called Dumped, and it's the SpongeBob SquarePants episode. SpongeBob introduces his pet snail Gary to Patrick, and they all begin to play tag. They later decide to have a sleepover together, where the next morning Gary doesn't want to leave Patrick's side. Gary decides that he wants to be with Patrick and be his pet. SpongeBob refuses to believe this, but when Gary is given the decision of who he wants to be his owner, he chooses Patrick. Heartbroken SpongeBob then attempted to find a new pet to show Gary that he doesn't need him. And as it turns out, Gary only wanted a cookie that was inside of Patrick's pocket, so we returned back to SpongeBob SquarePants, but it was actually a very emotional episode. Number 8 takes us to Feed the Kitty from the Bugs Bunny show. The Bulldog Mark Anthony tried to scare off a little kid, but he was confused when the kid didn't run off. Instead, the kid climbed right onto his back, using him as a bed. Mark Anthony immediately loved the cat and wanted to adopt her as his pet and bring her home. He tried to hide from his owner because his owner was so fed up with all of the things getting in her way. Well, this owner almost saw the kid, so it jumped into some flour that the woman had out because she was gonna bake some cookies. Long story short on this one, guys, Mark Anthony thought the owner had baked his beloved pet, and he was absolutely heartbroken, but as it turns out, the kid was able to sneak out of the batter before being accidentally cooked. Kenny dies from South Park, and this comes into number 7. The basis from this episode comes from the writers feeling tired of the show's status quo of having to come up with a new way for Kenny to die in every single episode. So in this one, it was actually very emotional. In this episode, Kenny actually has a terminal illness, and immediately this episode feels different from the rest. Stan goes through stages of grief because he's unable to support his sick friend, while Cartman is doing everything in his power to find a cure for Kenny. Although this episode is still rather funny, it makes you think about death in a real way. Now at number 6 is Cookie Chomper 3, and this is from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Cookie Chomper 3 was Alvin, Simon, and Theodore's first pet. It was a stray kitten that found its way into their home through an open door. However, soon after Cookie Chomper 3 was hit by a car, he was killed. Dave tried to help the boys deal with the grief and embrace the brief but happy memories and time that they've spent with the kitten. Another episode from The Simpsons makes their way onto this list at number 5. The episode was titled Maggie Makes 3. When Bart and Lisa was looking through some family photo albums, they commented on the lack of baby pictures of Maggie. So Homer answers them by telling them a story on how he had to give up his dream when Maggie was born. Homer hated working at the nuclear plant, and his dream job was actually to work in a bowling alley. Through some budgeting, Homer was able to clear off his debt and wanted to make his dream into reality. Working at the bowling alley meant less money but less stress, and it allowed him to be with his family more. Homer and Marge celebrated, if you guys know what I mean, which resulted in Marge becoming pregnant, and Homer knew that he would have to get a better paying job in order to support his family. So he was forced to go back to his old job at the power plant, where Mr. Burns placed a plaque on his workstation that read, "Don't forget, you're here forever," to remind him that he can never quit again. So to answer the question to why there aren't pictures of Maggie in the photo album, he covered part of the plaque with her pictures, carefully positioning them so the plaque now reads, "Do it for her." Brian Wallows and Peter Swallows from Family Guy takes us to number 4. Brian was stressed out that he will never find an intelligent woman to fall in love with, so he decided to heavily drink, and then he was later caught for drinking and driving. For his community service, he is sentenced to volunteer at a retirement home where he was assigned to a mean and short-tempered woman named Pearl. After weeks of putting up with her verbal abuse, Brian loses it and tells Pearl to drop dead. Later that night, he stumbled across a show that featured Pearl when she was younger, and it turns out that she used to be a famous jungle singer. He rushed over to her house right before she was about to hang herself and apologized. They spent a lot of time together, and the two eventually fell in love. Brian convinced Pearl to get over her fears of never going outside, so as soon as she left her house, she was struck by a truck. She told Brian that it had been the best day of her life. Number 3 is Byebye Butterfree from Pokemon. As Ash, Misty, and Brock make their way to Saffron City, they see a big group of Butterfree in the sky, and Brock mentions that it is the time of year when all the Butterfrees mate. So they rent a hot air balloon and they follow the group of Butterfrees so Ash can send out his Butterfree to find a mate, but it struggled to get any attention. Ash's Butterfree soon falls in love with a pink Butterfree and attempts to get her attention. As the episode progresses, and after Ash's Butterfree defeats Team Rocket, the pink Butterfree falls in love with Ash's Butterfree, and the two of them decide to live together as soulmates. They fly out into the sunset together, and Ash reminisces about him catching it as a Caterpie, it evolving into a Metapod and then into a Butterfree. And his Butterfree is almost out of sight. Ash wishes it good luck. Have some tissues ready because in at number 2, I'm ready to talk about Mother's Day from Rugrats. As the name suggests, this episode takes place on Mother's Day, where all the Rugrats are all working on their presents for their mom, except for Chucky, who didn't have one. The other Rugrats asked you why doesn't he have a mother, and he said he doesn't know. He just doesn't have one. Chaz, Chucky's father, reveals to him that his mother was Melinda and she passed away from a terminal illness. He gave Chucky his mother's diary, where the last thing she wrote is a poem to Chucky. This poem will break your heart, so I'll just read just the first couple of lines. My sweet little Chucky, though I must leave you behind, this poem will tell you where you can always find me. When a gentle wind blows, that's my hand on your face. And when the tree gives you shade, that's my sheltering embrace. And finally, we made it to number 1 on this list, and we're talking about Jurassic Park from Futurama. Fry visited a museum that was displaying 20th century artifacts, and he stumbled across his old pet dog that had been fossilized and put onto display for an exhibit. Professor Farnsworth revealed that he can clone a version of his pet dog Seymour that Fry once knew and loved. Fry had Seymour until Seymour was 3 years old, but then Fry was frozen. So before the cloning process was complete, Farnsworth revealed that Seymour was 15 years old when he died, which made Fry think that Seymour lived a full life after he himself was frozen and that he shouldn't clone him. As it turns out, at the end of the episode, there was a heart-wrenching moment of passing years outside a pizza parlor that Fry used to work at. So Seymour was waiting continuously for Fry to return. At the end of the clip, Seymour closed his eyes and went to sleep for the last time. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys stay tuned because we make videos every single day, so I'll see you guys in the next video.
Oh, what the? What the heck? Where's the video? Oh, hey guys. You guys should watch my previous video, which is over here. Over here. You guys can watch this video. Just click on it. It's annotated. And then the other video that we've done in the past is right over here. You guys can actually click on that. And, oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe as well. You guys can go right down here. Or you guys can do it a few times, I think. Just hit it over here. Subscribe. Okay, that's it for me, guys. I don't know what's going on here, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah.